As Taal volcano enters its second week of unrest, Phivolcs says displaced residents should stay away. Taal's calm demeanor notwithstanding, do not be misled, experts say. The volcano could be building up to an even more powerful eruption. Jen Kalimon with the story.
9 days after Taal volcano's eruption, Phivolcs has monitored significant changes in the volcano's activity, including the level of sulfur dioxide emission, which is now lower compared to previous days. Volcanic earthquakes have also been decreasing. From over 100 quakes since January 14, only 5 have been recorded by the Philippine Seismic Network today. But Phivolcs warned that a major eruption is still imminent.
Even if we have a lower diminishing trend in the earthquakes, the fact is this earthquake signified that magma has been intruded. So the eruptible magma that could be erupted na pwedeng iputok ng bulkan.
Phivolcs also noted how the volcano's landscape had been altered. A portion had slightly tilted, while some areas in the northeastern side had sunk. Fissures had also been seen around Taal volcano. But despite the repeated warnings and scientific data, Talisay Vice Mayor Charlie Natanawan challenged Phivolcs' findings, insisting that residents should be allowed to return to their homes.
Ay kung mangyari man yon at ang atin may puro opinyon, haka-haka, kung mangyaring pumutok ng malakas yan, nandito ako, namatay sila, namatay ako, wala na sila makakasuhan, patay na kami lahat. Kumain na ako kahapon. Lahat ng tao ko rito, wala kaming maiulam. Nagpakuha ko din sa dagat. Kinain na namin yung talapia. Wala, hindi totoo yun na pinalalalaang ng media at saka ng Phivolcs. Sa halip na kami hikayatin na pagdating ng panahon, ibababa din ho yan. Hindi yung malakas ang putok, ay kumbaga sa mga bata ay parang binubuli ang buong taga Batangas. Mali ho yun.
But Phivolcs remains firm on recommending evacuation.
We will be the first one to say if it's safe to go back because we have them in mind all the time.
DILG Assistant Secretary Elias Fernandez also warned Tanawan to stop questioning the agency.
You just ignore him. After all, he's a public official and he is accountable for his statements.
Alert level 4 is up over in Taal as there's still a looming possibility of a major eruption. Reporting for News 5, Jen Kalimon. We are One News.
Despite the repeated warnings and the demarcation of a 14-kilometer danger zone, the DILG now says only 8 Tagaytay barangays are actually covered by a mandatory evacuation order. Those barangays are Bagong Tubig, Caybagal South, Maharlika West, Sambong, San Jose, Silang, Junction South, Maharlika East, and Tolentino East. Meanwhile, Senator Ping Lacson is asking whether there are sufficient calamity funds should Taal volcano indeed erupt. Lacson notes that the NDRRMC fund is now just 16 billion pesos after the Senate and Congress slashed 4 billion pesos from its 20 billion peso budget. He also took note of the Batangas Disaster Reduction and Management Fund worth 183 million pesos. 70% of that has already been allocated for overhead expenses, leaving only 55 million pesos for dealing with the unfolding calamity. President Duterte is asking Congress to expedite approval of a supplemental calamity budget of 30 billion pesos. For its part, the Health Department has issued an advisory urging citizens to avoid eating fish from Taal Lake. The DOH says the Bureau of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources will work to ensure that fish being sold in the markets are not from Taal.
The fish might absorb the acid in the environment, and this may therefore prove to be toxic and not fit for human consumption.
Meanwhile, SLEX and Star Toll fees have been waived for government and private vehicles involved in Taal relief efforts. The San Miguel Tollway Corporation is at the same time advising motorists to go to its inspection sites to further facilitate the delivery of relief goods. The NDRRMC says an estimated 270,000 people were affected by the Taal eruption. That is more than 68,000 families, more than half of whom are now in little less than 500 evacuation centers. Meanwhile, the NDRRMC says all road sections in Calabarzon are already passable. As for 20 cities and municipalities that reported power interruptions as of yesterday, all these areas have now reportedly have had power restored. Damage to agriculture, meanwhile, in Calabarzon is estimated at more than 3 billion pesos.